This morning I thought I would do a coastal scene. It's a picture from over at the Carolina coast. And again, I'm in my sketchbook. This is the time to experiment, try different colors, different techniques. So I'm just going to kind of sketch in a sand dune right here. These dunes have grasses growing on top of them. I might even put one back there, I'm not sure, in the distance. Okay, I think that'll work right there. So a quick sketch, very loose. Now let's put in a sky. I'm going to go with my number 10 round brush. And I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use some horizon blue. It's by Holbein, however you pronounce it. And before I go any farther, since I'm working on a sketchbook and it's only 90-pound paper, I need to tape down the corners, especially if you use a lot of water. Otherwise, the corners buckle up on you. It just makes it a real challenge to try to paint. So I'm just going to bend some tape around the corner and onto the backing. Okay, that'll hold it in place. So again, horizon blue. Maybe leave a few little white clouds in the distance. Just kind of connecting some of the shapes so there's not too much of this hard edge going on. Okay, I think that's good for that. So I'm going to let that slowly dry here, and I'm going to mix up my next colors. I'm going to get into some raw sienna. Put a little quinacridone violet with it. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. Sometimes the sand almost seems white, so I don't want to get too much into the browns or ochres. I think I'm going to calm that down with a little bit of ultramarine blue, just to knock back the yellow a little bit. That's better. Okay, so let's just start on the distant dune back here. I'll put a little one here, I think, just to give a feeling of distance. I'm going to have the light coming from the upper right, so I'm going to leave some of the sand in here quite light. I'm using a number 10 round brush. Sweeping across, use the whole arm. Don't just use your wrist or your hand, use the whole arm, work from the shoulder. I'm going to take some ultramarine blue now and cool this off, have this foreground be in shadow. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep this light here where the sun is hitting this dune. And maybe this side of this dune also. Now I know this is going to dry 25% lighter at least. So that's something you have to remember to go strong enough with your pigments. Okay, I think I'm going to dry this a little bit, and I'll be right back. Okay, it's pretty dry. There's still some wet areas, but I think it's dried enough that I can keep working with it. So I'm going here with, again, with some horizon blue. I just want to cool that off a little bit more temperature-wise. Normally I would just probably use ultramarine blue, but I think for some reason that horizon blue I think will look nice in there. That was that sand color I used. I took a nice long swipe right in here, and it'll diffuse a little bit. In other areas it might leave an edge like right here, but I don't mind that. Maybe break that edge up a little. Okay. Just going a little stronger here yet. And I think I'll just break this line up in a few spots. I think I'm going to dry that, and then we'll get into some other darker values. Okay, I've mixed up some yellow ochre, some sap green. And I'm going to start with the trees that are on top. Here I'm using a mop brush. And see how that fans out? And if it doesn't fan out or stay fanned out, that's because you have too much water in your brush. You want to get some of the water out of your brush, and then just drag it and give it a turn, and you can get this nice fanned out brush that works great for detail. And when you look for a sketchbook, I wouldn't go with anything lighter than a 90 pound, and check it to see that it's designed to accept some watercolor. They're probably not the best for using heavy washes, a lot of water, because they will curl up quite a bit. But if you got 90 pound, you can get by with quite a bit. I'm going to take my small script brush and just take that same color, but just darken it a little bit with some ultramarine blue. This is going to be the shadow side of this dune. I'm going to put some small distant trees back in here. Okay. Now I'm going to add more ultra to my sap green. I want to get a little bit darker as I get into the shadows. And I'm looking at it, I just kind of want to put sort of a rust color in there. I think I'm going to go with some burnt sienna. Just putting in some darks to give some form to these trees and these high grasses. You don't need to get your little brush out and try to do all these trees. It's kind of time consuming, and if you aren't careful, it can become overworked looking really fast. So I'm going to just kind of skim across to this dune in the distance. The grasses and everything won't be as high on this. I'm going to go a little bit lighter, add a little more yellow ochre to it, and just put a little value back in here, but I don't want that to compete value-wise with the dune in the front, so I want to keep that light so like it's back in the distance. It's a little bit of a phthalo green, blue-green in there. And I started to put that in, but I think I'm not gonna push that. I think it's okay without it. Then here there's the branches from some of these small trees that are knocked down, weeds. Back into the darks. I actually have some ultramarine blue and some quinacridone violet in there, which is also a cool color. It really works well in shadow areas. Kind of give the sweeping motion of the rising dune. Again, this is a sketchbook. This is studies. This is where you kind of figure out composition. You figure out the colors you want to use. And sometimes your paintings are fresher and more fun to look at when they're studies because you aren't overthinking it. Yeah, it's kind of working horizontal, using my whole arm from the shoulder. Lay some of this seaweed, grasses that have been washed up on the shore. Maybe there's a bunch right there. Right here in the shadow area, let's put some that's a little bit larger. But it's like drawing with a brush. It's a little script brush. Kind of ground that dune right there with a little value. Some grasses up on the side, this side of the smaller dune back here. And there could even be some footprints in here, which you can't tell the footprints from the seaweed and everything. But if you lay your colors in, your values in, your shapes in with the larger brush, then you can spend a little time slowing down and having fun kind of picking at it with a little bit of detail. But if you start with small brushes, by the time you get to the end, it's kind of tired and overworked look to it. We really don't want that. I want to take that same dark color I have here and just put some birds flying across here. Horizontal stroke, come back, go up. Horizontal stroke, come back and go down. My brush is laying pretty flat. It's not upright. You got to be careful of your spacing on your birds too. Tendencies to place them all 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch apart, and it just looks too unnatural. So make sure you have a random pattern to your birds. I think just one last little thing I want to do here is I've got the coolness in it that I like, but I want some warmth in it that I don't feel right now. So I'm going to take some cadmium red, a little bit of lemon yellow with it. See if I like that. If I don't think that looks right, I'll grab another red. This happens to be permanent rose. I think I'm going to try permanent rose with a little bit of the yellow in it. So it's very, very diluted. It's not going to be a strong color. But I just want to warm up this hill. Now it feels like in these light spots that there's some light coming through. It warms it up. That probably could be a little cooler right in there. So I'm going to go back to my ultra. Just see if this works. But I think that's good. I think that gets the point across. A sketchbook is real valuable to practice your drawing and your painting. And this is a small sketchbook. It's 9 by 9. And I've shown a few of these pages before, but I'm trying to think where I left off. I think I had this one. I showed this on one of the videos, and you can see I've added to it. I added the tree, I added the building in the bottom. But it's kind of fun to put the tree behind the paint tube and just kind of give some depth to the painting. It just kind of makes it whimsical. Here's one I did from a photo in Oregon. Here's a tree that was recently posted. Again, from a lot of reference that I've taken over the years. Sketches, just sketch people. Find pictures of people. You can go online and find all kinds of figures to practice your drawing skills. But I hope this has been helpful. Thanks.